Yeah, so this is my adventure today. Have a look at this. I managed to split the hub on the rim. The keyway, I think that the key inside must be mangled. I got the wheel most of the way off. Still have a little bit to go. I'll have to find out what kind of repair we have to do once we get this wheel off, or if I can buy a rim, but I don't want to spend a pile on this. If I can just fix it with what I've got, that's the best scenario. I think this just helps show how much torque that K66 Rear has, because can split the rims with it apparently. I did shoot an email to RJR Tractor, where I originally got the rear end from, about 6 years ago, just asking if they've ever seen this before, or I'm even asking what a part number for that rim might be as far as a replacement is concerned. I just want to make sure I can either order something to get a replacement, or I mean, assuming I can't fix this one. But first I got to remove it, so I had to get a few little heavier duty tools today, because I've got the machine tied to one post on that side of the barn, and then of course the strap on this side, and I had a lot of tension on it yesterday and it wasn't coming out, so I quit while I was ahead, walked away, and came back with a fresh mind and a new plan. So we'll see what happens now. Well, I don't know how much explanation this needs, but this will be my attempt. A socket fit inside the hub, and that's pushing on the axle. The bottle jack pushes on the Chevette rim, which pulls the John Deere rim. I don't know. We're gonna put some tension into it and kind of see if something wants to move. There we go. All right, let's get your arm out of there. Yes. Success! That was awesome. All right, well, we got it off. We can see the cracked hub. I'll deal with that in a few. But check this out. If you guys can see that key, I hope it shows up on camera and translates, but it is definitely not square anymore. You can see how it's all deformed. This is my best guess as to what's happening. Or what, pardon me, or what was happening. Just the sheer torque from this was causing, oh, there we go. Just the sheer torque from the rear end was causing that pin to roll. It's basically radiused out. So that must be the point where it was weakening, putting extra strain on that rim, and then cracked that hub on the rim. So I think this is getting replaced. Even this axle looks like it's got some it kind of looks like it's wallowed out a little bit there too. I don't know. We'll have to, if I get a new key there and put it in, we'll have to see how it fits compared to this one. This one's pretty mashed up. I guess while I'm at it, I should probably check the other wheel, because it wouldn't surprise me if it was doing the same thing, and I can get two at the same time. So the Chevette spare plus the bottle jack and a couple of ratchet straps were definitely the answer here. From what I can tell in here, this doesn't look too damaged, minus the cracking, of course. My suspicion is maybe I can attempt welding this. I at least have to try in order to use the machine, so I'll see if I can't get this kind of knocked back in place and sort of play with it from there and see what happens. Yeah, I guess so. I'm gonna let the air out of this tire and get ready to weld, clean this up, see what I can come up with. So let's figure this next step out. Just got back from the store, and I picked up some replacement keys. So if you remember what the last one looked like, it had kind of mushroomed itself over. So it's going to show up nice. And the way it was rolling put extra stress on the hub and cracked it. Now it's only cracked this half of the hub, like the front half, if you want to call it something. But that keyway that's cut into the wheel does go all the way through. So the path for the key is pretty deep. Also, the cut on the axle is pretty deep. What I've figured out is I could almost run 2 full keys on the wheel and have enough space to do that. So what I'm thinking to do right now is actually about 3 brand new keys. So I'm gonna put a brand new one on this wheel, and I'm gonna take one of my new ones and probably cut it in half and sleeve it in there. So then each wheel, because I'm gonna also take the other one apart, because if this one's damaged, the other one can't be far behind. And I'm gonna change both of them. I'm basically gonna end up with a key and a half in each wheel. Hopefully the added surface area will help prevent more future damage like that. The axle on this side's a little buggered up, so that's another thinking as to why using more key might help keep this from being a bigger problem. Now that some paint's been removed, it looks like the base of the rim where the hub meets the face, it doesn't look like it's split there. What I'm thinking happened is this hub started to fracture at the weak point where the keyway's cut in, and it basically just opened up. So that's a good thing, because that means all I have to do is actually squeeze this back together in order to get everything true again. Perfect world, I'll have a band of something to go around this hub once it's back together and add some more strength to this, beef it up so that way it's not prone to splitting again. Alright, well, I had my torch out. Mind you, it's just a propane torch, so it only gets so hot, but I heated the hub up as hot as I could get it and put the vice grips on there. I saw some movement, and I definitely closed the gap some. It's not perfect, but I think for what we're trying to achieve here, it's going to be better than nothing. I'm thinking as I get the weld into it, maybe the heat from the weld will also help soften this a little bit so it closes, because I'll leave the grips on there, the vice grips, while I'm working. Yeah, here's the hoping. So it's definitely nice and clean now because I've burned out anything that was in there as a contaminant. So I'm gonna get the welder fired up and see if we can't patch some of this up. All right, well, I got it welded up to the best of my ability. I ended up doing a pretty good sized bead all the way around the hub, and I went up splitting the line. I had everything pinched with the vice grips at the same time, so now I'm just going to take my file and make sure that keyway has no debris in it, get it painted, and I think it's going to go back on the machine, because at least for now it's the best thing I'm going to have to work with. And if it decides to break and split again and problems get worse, then I might have to look at an axle or maybe a hub adapter and go to like a bolt-on rim or something. But for right now, hopefully this is going to be enough. Good news, I found a pipe. It's as close as I can get to the diameter that I need. So I cut myself a little ring, and that fits over the hub. It sits down lower than the face of the hub because that's where the washer and the snap ring fit on. So hopefully I'll be able to knock that down in there and get it a little bit tighter, weld around the perimeter of the bottom and the top of it, and kind of help lock that hub in place. I think any material I can add to it's going to be a benefit. So, alrighty, I threw some paint at it. I had picked up a can of Krylon John Deere yellow when I was out at the store buying those keyways, or those keys, sorry. Threw some paint at it, so it's got a cure, but I think the wheel's ready to put back on. I know the welds never look nice when I do them. That's a given. I'll probably run my file through the keyway just to make sure it's clean. And I'm also going to check out that axle with my file and kind of take off some of the rounded parts there that are all mushroomed out of shape. Should be able to get this to fit back on nice, and I don't want to, but I should take the other wheel off and make sure that the other wheel doesn't have any issues starting, because it's easy to change the key now before it's all smashed out of shape into a pretzel. So let's get this back in the barn, maybe let this guy sit in the sun for a few, and then throw it back on the machine and go. Okay, so I've just been working on cleaning up the keyway on the axle, and now the axle got buggered up a little bit, kind of started to roll. I think it got wider, and that's probably why the wheel was so stuck. So I think I'm gonna have to take you can actually feel the shape change there. So I think I'm gonna have to take a little bit of material off the top there, just with my hand file, just to kind of get that a little bit sized, or a little better sized. What I'm gonna do though, I bought 3 of the keys, so I'm gonna cut one of the key in half, and that's gonna give me, instead of just 1.5 inches, I'm gonna have another about 3/4 in there. So it should give me a little more surface area for this to hold in the keyway, and hopefully that's gonna help prevent any future blowout on this. Because at this point, like, to fix this properly, you need a rim and an axle. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So I'm gonna just file out the back of this a little bit more, but try to clean up as much as I can and go from there, I suppose. That's about all she wrote, I guess. Not much more I can do there. All right, so I'm just doing my test fit here. You can see how much play the rim has on the axle. I know there's supposed to be a little bit, but I'm sure mine is kind of blown out of proportion because the axle's a little bit buggered up too. But I've got basically 50% more key inside the keyway. Let's see how this rim pulls off now. It pushed on without any trouble. Let's see if it's gonna come off the same. Perfect. So now, as I mentioned I was going to do, I took one of my spare keyways, cut it in half, and I was able to add it. So now I'm basically increasing the surface area by 50% from the original, so it should, fingers crossed, make a difference in the longevity of this. And it fits just fine. There's absolutely enough space to accommodate this. It's actually, if you were really pushing the envelope, if you cleared this keyway out all the way back, you might even be able to fit like 2/3 of a key in there. But for my needs, this is going to be plenty, and it's a little bit of a buffer there. So I've got a bunch of anti-seize that's going to get all greased up on there to make sure that I don't have any rusting issues. I did have to use my file and take down some high spots on the axle from the hammering, trying to knock it off. I was hammering on this washer, kind of chewed up some of the machined face on the axle. So I took my file, kind of cleaned it up, took some sandpaper, smoothed it down, so the wheel fits on and off now as it should, which is certainly a preferred option. So I'm gonna get this all greased up and slop it back together. Fingers crossed I don't have this problem again. Alright, well, it fit back on there without any troubles. I have to re-inflate the tire. I let all the air out because I didn't know what I was going to have to do with regards to the welding. It got pretty hot, and I had to heat the hub up with my torch too, so probably better, just from a safety perspective, that I let the air out of the tire in case it was to pop on me when I'm working on it, or I don't know. Anyways, I'll fill it up. It should be ready to rock. Still got a bit of play in it as expected, but it's not cracked anymore, so fingers crossed it's not going to be a problem. I'm gonna go check the other side out, see what the condition of the key is on that side, and if it's not all buggered up, I'm just gonna add that extra half a key to it, or I'll replace the key and add an extra half, whatever. Regardless, I'm gonna check that side out and make sure that it's just the same. But this hub is not cracked, it's in good condition. Both sides of it are fine, so that's definitely a plus. This wheel showed no signs of wear. It actually pulled right off without any troubles. When I installed these 6 years ago, I used anti-seize on the axles, and I made sure that the the square key had anti-seize on them. They probably had grease too. Check this out. So this is off of that driver's side, and it's not nearly as prominent, but you can see there's absolutely wear in it, just like the other side had. Not as prominent, but it probably started out just minimal, where it's starting to dent and deform, and who knows how much further away it was from starting to roll, just like the other key did, and then split the hub. So this is getting exactly the same treatment with an extra 50% key. So those fit in there just lovely. They're gonna get fresh anti-seize. I'm gonna clean that axle up really nice, slap it back together, and send it for another 6+ years. Should be laughing. Oh yeah, and that's the washer that belongs back there. I just took everything off to clean it. So right on. Glad I'm checking this stuff, because I think I've prevented another failure of this wheel now. So sweet. Well, that's that. So that was kind of a wild and crazy repair. The hardest part was definitely pulling the wheel off, but the bottle jack was the answer there. So cool. I guess this thing's gonna keep on ticking. I think I'm at about 615 hours on this machine now, and I'm just gonna keep pushing it right to the end until the wheels fall off. They almost did, but until the wheels fall off again, you know, I keep going.